I long for power. Just because I traveled here. The soul is not a local. So I do not possess spiritual power. I have translated the text into English as requested. But today, I have translated the text into English as requested. I discovered a book called Evil Art, although it is a bloody themed. Living sacrifice evil art. Do I have any other choices? I don't. This is my story. My real name is Su Fu, named after an ancestor of an island. I come from Earth. One time I accidentally stumbled upon the scene of a deal between two groups of criminals. As expected, they silenced me to cover their tracks. However, who could have imagined that I would actually have the opportunity to, in another world, as a new life, open my eyes once again? This world, and the world I originally inhabited, have similarities similar to parallel worlds. However, the difference lies in the civilized world here is not a collection of individual countries governing themselves. Instead, they have been unified into one alliance. And what's even more absurd is, here exist real deities and elves, ability user and undead, ordinary people and demi-humans. It's like a casual creator, roughly blending modern city life with a fantasy world. I cautiously keep my mouth shut, so as not to prematurely reveal the secret that I am not a native of this world. At the same time, I greedily absorb all information related to supernatural powers. It must be needless to say more to convey. That's right. I also want to have supernatural powers. But due to the different composition of my soul, I am inherently different from them. So I have not possessed spiritual power for 18 years. Despite making many undisclosed efforts, I have still achieved nothing. However, today, after searching tirelessly for 18 years, the opportunity has finally arrived. Although this is a living sacrifice ritual with a clearly bloody essence. But do I have other choices? I don't. The process of ritual is very simple. At any time, on any occasion, use your own fresh blood. On any flat surface, draw the ritual pattern as shown in the illustration. Place at least one soul of a wise being in the center of the ritual pattern. Then, using any language and any prayer text, make an honest wish to the deity from the alien universe. The ultimate effect of the ritual is that as long as the souls sacrificed match in quality and quantity with the content of your wish, then your wish can be fulfilled. Conversely, this ritual also has a flaw. By sacrificing a soul from this universe to obtain blessings from another universe is equivalent to artificially increasing the material energy of this universe out of thin air. This violates the natural laws of the universe. The sacrificer will face terrible heavenly retribution. Only two types of people can escape the price. One is a powerful individual capable of resisting any heavenly condemnation. The other is if the spirit of the sacrificer itself comes from another universe. A soul from another universe. Isn't that me? I took a picture of the page from the Blood Sacrifice Ritual book. Then I secretly tore out the key pages. At this time, the librarian, Ms. Mion, walked over and asked if I needed help. She might have noticed my left leg paralysis. She felt sympathy towards me as my right eye was covered with an eye patch. She kindly helped me put the books away. I also planned to go out and plan the sacrifice. After all, the blood sacrifice ritual requires me to use the soul of a wise life as an offering. Deity elf or undead's difficulty is too high. It seems that I can only kill a person. Therefore, I must find someone who has committed heinous crimes. As usual, when I get home, I turn on the TV and listen to the news broadcast. Then I go prepare dinner. I carefully select the ingredients. I plan to braise chicken with potatoes for dinner tonight. I can't resist the deliciousness of chicken. I suddenly froze while cooking and cast my eyes towards the TV, interrupting with an urgent message. A highly dangerous criminal has appeared in this city. Currently, it is known that there have been 3 victims. The victims had no contact with the suspect during their lifetime. There were no conflicts of interest. The police are actively searching for the criminal. There are clues showing The suspect is wearing a sheepskin. The suspect has oil paint on his face. The police have nicknamed him Killer in Sheepskin, based on this rare appearance characteristic. The killer in sheepskin may be armed. It is advised that citizens stay away from the scene and report to the authorities. The phrase, carrying firearms, keeps jumping in my mind. This undoubtedly outlines memories of my past life. So I decided to make him the blood sacrifice target for this stage. I am a time traveler, but I don't have a system or the blessing of a golden finger. Even though I am naturally mediocre, I have a heart that desires to become stronger. Just today, I accidentally discovered a mysterious evil art book. This is undoubtedly my opportunity. I must firmly grasp it. The book says, all I need to do is sacrifice a life to the deity from another universe. The deity from another universe will then grant me an equivalent wish. But to have me murder innocent people for my own selfish desires is impossible, even if I desire to become an ability user. Therefore, I have targeted a wanted serial killer. The wanted criminal has a mysterious alias, named Killer in Sheepskin. I have decided to target him as the blood sacrifice target for the current stage. But the question is, how can I find this serial killer who even the local police cannot temporarily apprehend? With my own strength alone, I am naturally powerless. Therefore, I choose to seek help from the underground intelligence network in this city. I took out some outdated cell phone components from the bedside cabinet where miscellaneous items were placed. Then I dismantled the handheld game console and the radio. I tinkered for about 15 minutes. Finally, I reassembled them into one. I haven't used the work phone for a long time. As I was charging it, I noticed. While charging the phone, I contacted Drone. Drone is an underground intelligence dealer I've had many exchanges with in the past. Drone answered the call and asked, "Who's there?" I took a deep breath, cleared my throat, and with a slightly altered voice than usual I said, "It's me." After a moment of silence, the other side responded, "Don't you value your life? Seriously, I really didn't recognize you at first. You disappeared for a whole year after that incident. I thought you died in that." I said in a low voice, "As you can see, I'm not dead. You can sell this information if you want." Drone asked nervously, "Is it true? Are you being sarcastic? If I sell you the information, will you kill me too?" His suspicion was not baseless. I have indeed killed before. In the past, I have made many unknown sacrifices in pursuit of spiritual power. I told him, "Why would I kill you? Instead, I need your help with something. As long as it is related to the information, he will be meticulous." "What information do you need?" I asked in a cold voice. "I want to know the whereabouts of the killer in sheepskin," I stated. He suddenly fell into silence. I broke the silence first, intentionally using a feeling of questioning his abilities. "You wouldn't happen to not know, would you?" The sound of the drone at the moment seemed very depressed. In fact, I have also tried to collect information on Killer in Sheepskin. But he is really too mysterious. He runs around the city dressed in sheepskin. Strangely, there hasn't been a second eyewitness. But I know who knows. Who is it? Adam. I quickly ran through it in my mind. I have never heard of this person. Drone said. Of course, you haven't heard of him. He is an underground intelligence dealer who emerged this year. And you have been quiet for a year. I asked. Is this person reliable? Drone responded. At least the intelligence he sells. The credibility is relatively high. But there are also some not-so-good rumors about him. I raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? There was a pause on the other end of the phone for a few seconds. I heard that he has betrayed his own partners before. After hearing that sentence, my face visibly darkened. I have finally decided to contact that Adam. I abhor those who betray their partners. However, first, what Drone said is hearsay and not conclusive. Second, I'm not looking to be partners with Adam, just to do business. Caution is key in all things. Not long after, my work phone received an unknown call. Hello. A very clear mechanical mixed voice came from the phone. It seems like another person who values confidentiality of real identity. I'll cut to the chase. I think Drone has already told you. I'm looking for clues on Killer in Sheepskin. Please provide a quote. Adam stated in a formal manner. Before providing a quote, let's discuss professional ethics. I need to remind you. Killer in Sheepskin is likely an ability user. This reminder is a free gift for you. Although I don't know why you want to find Killer in Sheepskin, if there are any issues, please don't blame me. His implication is, if you are not an ability user, don't mess with Killer in Sheepskin. This is within my expectations. So I replied confidently, you can rest assured. Adam clearly stated a price that I can accept. He added, considering that you are an anonymous customer, I need you to transfer the transaction amount to my bank account first. Then, I will organize the information and send it to your designated email address in electronic document format. The time difference will not exceed an hour. Is this acceptable to you? I said yes and gave him a previously randomly registered email address. By the time Adam sent the information over, it was already getting dark. I made myself a cup of instant coffee. Then I reviewed the content in the document. After reading the material, I had a new perspective on Adam in my mind. No wonder he is recommended by Drone as an intelligence dealer. He can even obtain internal documents of the Public Security Bureau. Not only does he have a large amount of on-site investigation information and the results of large-scale screenings, but also detailed psychological profiles and rumors of unknown authenticity. He even conducts on-site investigations and reasoning himself. He combines the clues he has investigated with all the intelligence at his disposal. He has listed several locations where Killer in Sheepskin may appear in the coming week. Among them, the location with the highest likelihood of appearance is the Old Town area, which is District 1, inside a rarely visited alley. After reviewing all the information, I am somewhat surprised. Wouldn't it be a bit too much for Adam to be overly concerned about a serial killer? I am a time traveler. I do not have the blessing of a cheat or system. But I am not willing to be mediocre. I crave power. Due to the difference in the structure of my soul from that of the humans in this universe. So I can't enjoy the power brought by spiritual power. However, heaven does not disappoint those with good intentions. Just today, the opportunity one have been looking forward to has finally arrived. This is an ancient evil ritual. By sacrificing life to the alien deity from another universe, in order to obtain an equivalent wish. This undoubtedly makes me see the hope of possessing spiritual power. Therefore, I locked on to a wanted serial killer. The wanted criminal has a peculiar alias. It's called Killer in Sheepskin. The story for this episode begins. I hide in the dark, observing the slightest movements in the alley. After half an hour, I see a man in sheepskin cloak leading a girl into the alley. The girl shows no surprise at the bizarre outfit of the killer in sheepskin. She asked instead, I forgot to ask earlier. What's your name? Killer in sheepskin laughed and said, you can call me Demon. You'll soon be calling me that anyway. Even so, women cannot bring themselves to be on guard. Just responding with a smile. You're quite the jokester. Killer in sheepskin's lips curved up. I'm not joking. Some people have already called me that before. From the woman's perspective, the sinister and terrifying killer in sheepskin is as cute as a little lamb. Indeed, it seems this woman has been bewitched by a spell. At this moment, I emerged from the darkness. I wore a crow mask on my head and held a cane in my left hand. Slowly, I approached the two individuals. In the very distant ancient times, wild people liked to hunt sheep. Sheep are not as fierce as wild boars, not as strong as cows, and not as agile as mice and rabbits. They not only have a lot of meat, but also live in groups. Their brains are also foolish. Some experienced hunters can even put on sheep horns and sheepskin to blend in. They can easily capture sheep. This primitive and rudimentary disguise is the earliest companion disguise. In the tried-and-true hunting techniques of the hunters lies the essence of natural and mysterious ritual. As a result, a very small number of hunters with spiritual power rely on this superstition to turn this hunting technique into hunting sorcery, allowing oneself to be seen as a companion by those who should be hostile towards oneself, or to be ignored as if just an ordinary bystander. In modern times, this disguise technique has been surpassed by better spells and has become a rare spell. In front of the killer in sheepskin and the woman's astonished gaze, I stopped in my tracks. The next moment, the cane fell from my hand. I curled up my body like a patient in a fit. The woman who cares hurried over to me. "May I ask if you need help?" I am under the crow mask. My voice sounds hoarse. "Yes, I need help. But not from you." In her strange gaze, I quickly got up. Left hand holding the spray aimed at her face. Then pressed the spray button. The white mist was inevitably inhaled into her lungs. A few seconds later, the woman's face turned red and she fell down. And she did not regain consciousness. With the woman falling to the ground, the smile of the killer in sheepskin was revealed. "Who are you? You have interrupted my hunt." I picked up the cane from the ground and said to him, "I am going to hold a blood sacrifice ritual." "You are going to be my living sacrifice offering." Killer in sheepskin looks puzzled. "What did you say? Is there something wrong with your brain?" I calmly watched him. "Are you planning to leave with me by yourself, or do you want me to break your legs and drag you?" Killer in sheepskin was furious the next moment, rushing towards me like a madman. Over my head, the sledgehammer in his hand came at me without hesitation. I reacted and used a cane to block. Then I started to retreat. The wrench in the hands of Killer in sheepskin once again struck towards my face. I turned my head and body, causing his strike to miss. While keeping my stance steady, I pressed the lever of the cane with my left hand. A sharp blade popped out from the bottom of the cane. As all this happened in a split second, Killer in sheepskin could only watch in shock. My blade stabbed towards his face. Unfortunately, my blade couldn't even scratch him. There was an invisible shield on his body surface. The shield seemed to be like a suit of steel armor protecting his body. He was taken aback at first. He grinned immediately. "You're quite good at hiding, you punk. Do you know who I am? Seeing how sly you are, I was worried you came prepared. I was afraid you were wielding a spiritual power weapon. So this turns out to be just an ordinary item." The next moment, he lunged at me again. He launched a ferocious attack against me. I dodged to the side, while considering ways to break the deadlock. If I'm touched by his plank hand, then I'll be finished. I watch vigilantly as Killer in sheepskin approaches. He approaches me step by step. At the same time, his mouth wants to undermine my fighting spirit. "Do you know? I have checked this place in advance. There are hardly any people passing through this street at this time. Even if you yell for help, it is useless." I didn't say a word. He continued, "You're here to rescue that woman, right? It's a pity. Next, you will also be caught by me along with her. Do you know that?" I most enjoy watching others fear, but at the same time, I find screams annoying. Fortunately, after I became an ability user, I can directly capture others' strong emotions through spiritual inspiration now. So next, I will first cut off your vocal cords. Then I will dig out your eyeballs, destroy your hearing. Then I will hollow out your nasal cavity. Then I will cut off your tongue. From then on, you will have no connection with this world. Only the sense of touch. And this soul sensation will only transmit pain to you. You will not simply die. I will make you live for at least a week. I will make you taste all kinds of pains worse than death. Only after you have turned into a pile of ignorant flesh and blood will I send you to the underworld." I snorted coldly and asked back, "Just based on you?" This sentence undoubtedly stunned Killer in sheepskin. Preview for the next episode. Hunt. I thirst to become stronger. It's just because my soul is not native. I can't awaken spiritual power. But I have discovered an ancient sacrifice ritual. By sacrificing to deity from another universe, I can make an equivalent exchange for my desires. Can the deity from another universe truly grant me powers? Killer in sheepskin threatened to cut my vocal cords, dig out my eyeballs, empty out my nasal cavity, cut off my tongue, leave me lingering like a desolate person. I asked back, just you? The next moment, the cane in his hand suddenly whipped towards him. I have done this kind of attack before, but none of them have been effective. Because this time, he didn't even bother to dodge. That's why I was able to hit him. Killer in sheepskin was sent flying by my strike, his body thrown out on the spot. He fell to the ground. He coughed up a puddle of blood, mixed with broken teeth. He supported his body bewilderedly. He was very puzzled. What's going on? Where is my spiritual power shield? I approached him step by step, holding a staff in my hand. Your defense is indeed very strong. Perhaps you are imagining a real armor while forming one with spiritual power? I have to say that your imagery is very lifelike. The restoration level of the spiritual power armor is very high. However, the flaw is also very obvious. That is, focusing on the imagery of acceleration. Unable to maintain the imagery of the armor at the same time. I push the palm of my hand horizontally. Next, I give it a hard shake. The staff suddenly splits into sections with jagged teeth. Killer in sheepskin sees the iron whip in my hand. At this moment, he finally felt fear. He went crazy and pulled out a gun from behind as he aimed at me. I fear firearms. Because I died from firearms in my past life. I left a trauma in my heart in this life. Therefore, 2 years ago, I turned to my partner for help on how to overcome fear. He sat next to me, leisurely tasting red wine. Then he grinned and said, "Overcome fear? No one can overcome fear." I am very puzzled. How is it possible that one cannot overcome fear? However, I know that some brave people can even overcome the fear of death. He immediately replied to me, "They are simply crazy." I didn't know how to respond for a moment, so I had to change my wording. Are ordinary people like me ultimately powerless against fear? He glanced provocatively at me and said that those who claim to be ordinary people are often not trustworthy. However, there are still ways. If fear is considered a disease, the brave can overcome it with their immune system. As for ordinary people like me, the only option is to take medicine. Although it may seem like temporary relief similar to anesthesia, it can still be a good remedy. Do you know what I am referring to? I respond, "Are you referring to those drugs often sold by people from the black market?" He sneered and said, "Well, they do have some uses, although the harm they cause is greater. But what I'm talking about is not physical drugs, but spiritual remedies." After some contemplation, I replied, "Extremely provocative ideas?" He denied my statement and told me the real answer. It's the fear from the enemy. Killer in sheepskin kept shaking his hands incessantly. My voice was extremely cold. I repeated back to him exactly what he had just said to me. There was almost no one passing through this street at this time. Even if you shouted for help, it wouldn't make a difference. Right. What did you just say? First, we'll cut your vocal cords, okay? Let's get started. At this moment, Killer in sheepskin's eyes are full of pleading and despair. This part was omitted by the host of the dark video. Half an hour later, I dragged his feet. Step by step, we walked deeper into the alley. He kept uttering choked pleas from his mouth. I placed Killer in sheepskin aside like a toy. Then, I cut open my own palm and began to bleed. Killer in sheepskin's tendons in his hands and feet were all severed by me. He was lying on the ground like an old dog, with empty eye sockets. I couldn't help but admire him. Even though I had torn his vocal cords, he started making sounds from his mouth, albeit unclearly. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please spare me." I ignored his low moans. If I had a car accident. Now my ending won't be any better than his. After bleeding, I took out gauze, began to bandage the wound. I finished bandaging the wound. In order to prevent the red blood from clotting, I had to quickly draw the forbidden curse. The ritual I am about to draw is called the Hastur Blood Sacrifice Ritual. The main purpose is to offer a living sacrifice to the deity, Hastur, from another universe in exchange for the desired gift. And I want to become an ability user with the help of Hastur. I have finished drawing the ritual pattern. I then dragged Killer in Sheepskin to the center of the ritual pattern. My wand stabbed forward again. I watched him calmly, starting to help him remember. I'm sure the past victims begged you like this as well. But have you ever spared them? Or maybe you prefer to make them show fear, plunge into despair? I will definitely not show any mercy to the killer. I am not a saint. I am just an ordinary human with my own desires and thoughts. Killer in Sheepskin is extremely afraid and keeps wailing. I will repent. I will do whatever you say. I just ignore his pleas and then walk outside to the sacrifice pattern. Don't show that expression. Don't you enjoy making others fearful? We are all in the same boat. It's just my turn to torture you now. You're responsible for screaming and begging. Let's get along well with each other. After saying that, I ignored his wailing and began to recite the incantation. With my blood and the enemy's living soul, I call upon your arrival. Great Hastur, come. Preview of the next episode. I make a deal with the deity. I have discovered an ancient ritual technique. I can obtain equivalent wishes by sacrificing to a deity in another universe. After I finished reciting the incantation, no vision occurred. The only sound was the continuous wailing of the killer in sheepskin. I began to worry as I looked at the killer in sheepskin on the ritual altar. Did I make a mistake somewhere while setting up the ritual? The killer in sheepskin in the center of the ritual altar seemed to have grown tired of howling. It gradually stopped its screams. The corners of its mouth actually started to curve upwards, revealing a smile. And then, he gradually started to laugh hysterically. I looked at him in confusion. At this point, my consciousness began to blur. At the same time, my mouth involuntarily began reciting the ritual's incantation. Those incantations began to materialize through my recitation. My heart tightened. At the same time, the speed of the recitation in my mouth is getting faster and faster. The blood-red incantation that I recited. They began to sneak attack the killer in sheepskin lying on the ritual altar, making the killer in sheepskin feel terrified at first. Then his whole body trembled uncontrollably. At the edge of the ritual altar, blood-red candles appeared without warning. The flames of those candles kept dancing in the air, following its dance. Flames from a different universe began to seep out of the ritual altar. The body of killer in sheepskin began to melt, like a plastic bag burning in flames, disappearing gradually in the candlelight. No, it's being devoured by the candlelight. In a moment, only scorched traces were left on the ground. As killer in sheepskin was devoured, the scenery in my sight began to undergo frightening changes. I don't know what adjectives to use to describe the current situation. Perhaps, surreal metamorphosis is the most fitting. At that moment, I stood alone in the world of surreal metamorphosis. The eerie tentacles in the sacrifice design seemed insatiable. They started slowly approaching me. Then they reached my feet, starting to climb up from my ankles. In my stunned consciousness, a sudden question flashed through. The anonymous author of the book. It seems like they never mentioned the side effects of the blood sacrifice ritual. The next second, I asked myself again in my heart, did they really not mention it? I recalled the main points discussed in that book. Suddenly I woke up. Yes, they did mention it. Hastur is a deity known as the Great Old One in another universe. Its existence form is absolutely incomprehensible to life forms in our universe in terms of its concept of good and evil. Assuming it exists, it would be vastly different from humans. Therefore, for humans, it is considered evil in most cases. And even in rare cases, it is never benevolent. It's like a person sleeping right next to an ant nest. Ants cannot comprehend human thoughts. Humans also do not care about the life or death of ants. And great old ones, like it, have an extremely vile characteristic. That is, if a human merely catches a glimpse of its form, they will go insane, spending the rest of their lives in madness. Even those who only arrange the ritual related to it will be affected by this influence. According to the description by the unnamed author, the more sensitive a person is to spiritual inspiration, the more they are unable to resist this influence. Unless the soul of the person who arranges the ritual comes from a universe bordering on mechanical materialism. The spiritual inspiration was so weak to the point of being unbelievable. Why didn't I pay more attention to this warning at that time? Yes, I remember now. At that time, it seems like I thought that since my spiritual inspiration was so weak, I should be able to somehow resist the influence. Perhaps one's hometown is what's known as a universe close to mechanistic materialism. But this is clearly problematic. The unnamed author never said that spiritual inspiration is equivalent to immune influence. And my own hometown may not necessarily be close to a universe that is almost akin to mechanistic materialism. Even if both of the former are true, how could I possibly immediately engage in this unknown ritual? Just use an ability user as a living sacrifice offering all of a sudden? Or is it because I am too eager to become an ability user, so I can't control my emotions? Or is it that I have been influenced since the stage of encountering the blood sacrifice ritual, but I am completely unaware of it? And I must now stay away from here. I have arrived at the entrance of an alley. Street lights line the streets on both sides. They look just like monks, wearing black hooded robes. Where are the monks heading to? I have an untimely curiosity. When I try to look in that direction, my body suddenly filled with strong fear out of nowhere. That fear told me not to look, that everything was an illusion. I suddenly realized that my consciousness is likely gradually approaching the abstract universe. I am touching upon a realm that is immensely taboo for life in the concrete universe. The worst outcome would be if both my consciousness and physical body are dragged into the abstract universe, transformed into some inexplicable form of existence, and continue to exist in a state of not knowing if I am still alive. Suddenly, the voice of that fearful consciousness in my mind speaks again. Don't go look. The loud voice made me close my eyes. When I opened my eyes again, the scene in front of me gradually returned to normal. I was back in my familiar world. My world has finally lifted the surreal metamorphosis. I feel a slight itch in my right eye at this moment. I take off the eye mask. I found that my previously blind right eye has regained vision, and I can see even farther and clearer. I tentatively reached out my paralyzed right arm. My previously paralyzed right arm also regained sensation. I can move it freely, just like last year when I was still in my prime. My left foot is also broken free from its usual clumsiness. I can swing it around casually now. Even when I press down with force, there is no abnormal feeling. It's as if my left foot, which was once unaffected, has returned. No mistake. I have completely rid myself of the disability. I have become a normal person with all 4 limbs healthy again. Next episode preview. Senior Police Officer Dad. I sacrificed to Haster in the alien universe. I have restored my right eye and right leg. But the restored right eye always sees indescribable visions. Normal scenes become eerie and terrifying. And the friendly chicken seller, Goku, always asks me if I want to buy chicken. In addition, the mysterious intelligence dealer Adam turns out to be quite a sharp-witted girl. After receiving the blessing of Haster, I returned home. When I opened the door, my dad was sitting on the sofa waiting for me, as usual, asking where his late-coming child had been. I naturally lied and said I went to the bathhouse. As a senior police officer, my dad naturally didn't believe me. Sharp-eyed, he said. Went to the bathhouse. But you haven't changed your clothes? I naturally tell a little lie to cover up the big lie. I just forgot to bring a change of clothes. He carefully looked at my hair. The nose smelled the scent of soap again. He had no choice but to give up. He started to read the documents with a straight face. At the same time, my heart relaxed a bit. But just at that moment, my work phone in my pocket vibrated at an inappropriate time. My work phone is my secret. I took it out and glanced at it. The caller was indeed Adam. What does he want by calling me at this time? Anyway, I can't take this call in front of my father, who is a police officer ability user. I had to hang up the phone first. Then I put away my phone. He was naturally attracted by my unusual behavior. So he asked, "Why did you hang up?" I said, "It was a prank call." He seemed to have been a police officer for a long time, developing the professional quality of getting to the bottom of things. "Didn't you just not answer?" he asked. I had to explain that nowadays, harassing phone calls can be flagged by cell phone users. The flag can be seen by other cell phone users. He believed my explanation. Then he stood up, picked up the files, and said, "I'll head back to the office first." I asked in confusion, "Do we still have to work at this hour? What were you doing when you just got back?" He remained silent for a moment. He said, "I can't rest assured leaving you alone. I know that if I hadn't been working at the bureau all the time, rarely caring about you and little G, maybe you wouldn't have experienced such an accident." At one point, I was busy looking at my old man. He didn't wait for my response. He turned around, pushed the door, and left. I turned my head and stared at the photo of our family. My father in this life is called Su Xingxing and is a senior police officer in Beaver City. He is dedicated to police work day and night. My younger brother is studying at a boarding school. When he comes home, no one is around. But because of this, I have more free time to do activities on my own. I took out my work phone and dialed Adam's number. The first thing he said when he answered was, "Did you kill Killer in Sheepskin?" I replied without hesitation, "If you continue to set traps in your words, you won't learn anything from me." Adam said, "I'm sorry, but what I want to say is, if you are on the path of hunting him down, then I hope you can postpone this matter." I first tentatively asked him, regardless of the relationship between me and Killer in Sheepskin, "Assuming I really killed Killer in Sheepskin, would it cause you any trouble?" Adam said, "I want to find Killer in Sheepskin and ask him some questions. This is very important to me." So, if your purpose in buying intelligence before was to seek revenge on him, then I hope you can hold off a bit. If you still insist on seeking revenge on him later, or decide to do something else, I am willing to provide you with some free intelligence support to a certain extent, with my own credit as a guarantee, as a return gift for your concession this time. I leisurely take a sip of tea, and I am very curious in my heart. What exactly does Adam want to ask Killer in Sheepskin? What do you want to ask him? I have nothing to say. Upon hearing that, I wasn't angry either. I just calmly said to him, "It's a pity. You called too late." "What?" In his usual indifferent tone, a hint of shock appeared for the first time. "Did I hear it wrong? I gave you the information about the possible whereabouts of Killer in Sheepskin around 7 p.m., but it's not even midnight yet. Have you found him and killed him already?" I calmly replied, "If you had called me before 9 p.m., you might have still seen him alive and kicking." His tone suddenly became flustered. "This is unbelievable. Seriously? Who are you really?" No comment. I repeated this sentence to him. Although I wasn't angry just now, I feel inexplicably relieved now. "All right, since I can't ask the living him, I can only ask the deceased him. Where did you dispose of the body of Killer in Sheepskin?" I said to him, "The body is gone." Adam continued saying, "You used a chemical solution to dissolve his body." "Did you burn it to ashes?" "No matter. You can give me whatever remains. Don't tell me you dumped it all into the river." When I heard Adam's recent remarks, I understood. This Adam is either medium, or he knows medium. Or he can extract information using forensic techniques? I said. What I meant was nothing at all. You can think of it as him being eaten by air. To be more precise, Killer in Sheepskin even had his soul and body thrown out of this universe by me, becoming a snack for the deity of another universe. After a few seconds of silence, Adam continued, I have a client who wishes to meet with you. Are you available tomorrow night? I will also be there. I didn't immediately agree, but instead asked, Tell me first, who is your client, and why does he want to meet with me? Adam said, He is someone investigating a local mysterious organization. I don't know his real identity or the origin of that mysterious organization. Based on certain interests, I am also investigating that mysterious organization. And just half an hour ago, the client called me. He told me that Killer in Sheepskin does not possess significant spiritual power talent. Mr. Cha, an illegal auto repair shop owner who has never undergone spiritual power training. The reason he suddenly became an ability user one day is likely to be related to that mysterious organization. I picked out the part that interests me and asked, Can I understand it as the mysterious organization has the means to turn ordinary people into ability users? And Killer in Sheepskin awakened as an ability user through unconventional means? Adam confirmed. You can understand it that way. Then he gave the specific time and location. Thinking back on what Adam just said, I guess, maybe, this is what causes the abnormal reaction that triggers the blood sacrifice ritual offering. Preview of the next episode, A Mysterious Organization and Adam. I sacrificed to Haster in a different universe. I have recovered my body, but I have been swept into the vortex of another event. The killer in sheepskin that I killed seems to be linked to a mysterious organization. The organization is researching drugs that can give ordinary people spiritual power. This undoubtedly attracts me. Therefore, I have come to meet the mysterious person brought by Adam.